Hello everyone, my name is Dig-Daeg and guess what? Christmas is here! Now, before I want to go forth and wish everyone a Merry Christmas season, I had a lot of fun revisiting some of my favorite Christmas films. Super emotional classics like Home Alone, Muppets A Christmas Carol, and the big papa of them all, It's a Wonderful Life, my favorite movie of all time. Yes, I do realize it's a Christmas movie, so some people don't count it, but gosh dang it, it is just so good and I love it. But within all of these classics, there is always one that somehow pulls its way through all of the holiday cheer, and that is Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. If you somehow haven't heard of this story, it's a tale of a remote civilization living in a snowflake who worships the Christmas holiday and fears Santa Claus's Antichrist, the Grinch. As these years have gone by, there have been 3 film adaptations of the story. The 1966 animated film, the 2000 live action film, and the most recent 2018 animated film. Within all of these, I feel like only one has truly captured the true magic and meaning of the Grinch. And seeing as it is over 50 years old, I feel like it's time to really take a step back and give the Grinch the true meaning it deserves. Let's start with what that original one did great. The first thing of note is that the 1966 version of The Grinch is traditionally animated in the hand-drawn format. This works incredibly well as it brings Dr. Seuss's designs to life as they were originally created. Seeing as the book had some very Dr. Seuss designs, there we go. This honestly worked perfectly, unlike some other adaptations. The tone of the film is set just right as it shows the Grinch as the true monster he is. He is a being of hatred and resentment for a holiday whose literal mantra is to spread joy and cheer to all who hear. This makes the Grinch a very hateable character right off the bat, but when his change of heart happens, it is supported very well and is quite earned. It also just so happens to be the Grinch film with the best Grinch song. You know, the classic, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch." It's the one that everyone loves and every bass likes to try and sing as deep as they possibly can, myself included. This Grinch film does suffer from one thing and really one thing only, other than its really short length, and that is Whoville. This movie's Whoville isn't very good because there are hardly any meaningful characters other than the Grinch, but honestly, that's really it. This film is great and I enjoy watching it every holiday season. Too bad that quality couldn't last! The 2000 Grinch film is not what I was expecting. This was the first time that I had seen it all the way through in a while, and so I was ready to complain about how bad it was. However, I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was despite its flaws. One hindering factor that is very apparent right off the bat is the fact that it's live action. This helps only Jim Carrey, as he is a very physical comedian and is really good at that. That's pretty much his entire job. But the Grinch is not the problem here. I can get by the weird design of the live action Grinch because in all of other versions he looks pretty whack. I can get past that. What I can't get past is Child Grinch and every single member of Whoville. If you thought the CGI cats from, well, Cats was bad, then you should take a look at some of these abominations. Holy cow, they look terrifying. The 2000 Grinch did one thing right, and it was introducing the audience to a closer look to Whoville and the effects the Grinch had on the tiny city. It was really well done, and I really enjoyed that plotline. Cindy Lou's song near the beginning of the movie is excellent. But it did take another step back by making the Grinch into a comedy. This is the kind of story that should not be a comedy. If you don't believe me when I say that this was intended to be funny, they casted Jim Carrey as the Grinch. Jim Carrey is a comedian. This turns the Grinch from a hate-filled man bent on destroying children's happiness to a joke. And that is not okay. Yes, it is perfectly fine if you enjoyed this. I really did. But I truly believe that the Grinch should not be taken lightly. But unfortunately, Illumination Studios did the complete opposite of that, as they usually do. The 2018 Illumination Studios came out with their own take on the Grinch. You might have heard that studio. They made a really good movie that created the minion-infested nightmare that we all have to live with if your grandma posts a joke on Facebook. After making The Lorax, which was pretty good, they made another Dr. Seuss movie, The Grinch. Oh boy. This version is good. It is animated, which is what I really believe The Grinch should be, and it does give a bigger, more insightful take on Whoville and Cindy Lou. Benedict Cumberbatch does a good job as the Grinch, and that's about it. The movie is a good Christmas movie, but it isn't a good Grinch movie. It does show the magic of Christmas and love and stuff, but it doesn't show the excellence in an individual so filled with hate and resentment over the Christmas holiday that they want to exterminate joy. The Grinch does have a sad backstory and an alright motivation, but when you compare that to the original, it doesn't really do the Grinch justice. Dr. Seuss says that the Grinch hated Christmas a lot, but no one knew why. The reason that the narrator brings up is that the Grinch's heart is 2 sizes too small, which is very interesting from a thematic point of view, but I might get into that in a different video. Needless to say, making the story an absolute comedic riot and make the story focus on Cindy Lou Who's struggling supermom and their financial troubles is interesting, but it doesn't have the magic of the Grinch. What I have always wanted from the Grinch is a story that shows anyone, even someone so filled with hate and resentment, can change through the true meaning of Christmas: love, gratitude, and selflessness. And I truly believe that a story like that, one that truly captures the true reasons that made the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas great, and that is by getting someone with the guts and vision like Tim Burton onto the scene. If you haven't heard of Tim Burton, you've probably heard of some of his movies. He has made things like Big Fish, Frankenweenie, and a little something called The Nightmare Before Christmas. He has already dabbled into the holiday scene, and I think someone with his vision, talent, and style would be perfect. He kind of has his own style at this point. Now, if Tim Burton were to create a Grinch movie, how would he do that? He would take the best traits from the previous Grinch stories, implement and improve them into his own, and make it in such a way that his Grinch is entirely different from any other Grinch story. First off, the medium of the Grinch should be animated. It has a better chance and opportunity to suspend your disbelief, and it wouldn't make the Who's terrifying abominations of nature. But I think we can take that one step further. I think this new Grinch should be in stop motion. This way, not only is it different from any other Grinch movie, it gives the opportunity for the Grinch himself to be even more terrifying. If any of you have seen Coraline all the way through, I think you know what kind of style I have in mind. The Grinch should have matted fur, sunken black eyes, and jaggedy yellow teeth. Secondly, this movie should not be a comedy first and foremost. You can definitely have jokes in there, but they should not involve the Grinch. Maybe for a bigger impact, you could have one of the Who's carry the comedic weight, but when everyone finds out that the Grinch has cleaned out Whoville of all of its joy and presents and stuff, he or she stays silent in shock. That way, you could keep the darkened tone and atmosphere that doesn't get too dark until it really needs to. Thirdly, you could totally have more characters in storyline that involve the people of Whoville. It can't be overbearing like the 2018's Grinch. 2000's Grinch actually did a very good job of balancing Whoville and the Grinch. Maybe you could put a little more focus onto the Grinch himself, but you could definitely look to Jim Carrey's Grinch as a good example of how to balance the two. And finally, I feel like the Grinch himself should be borderline insane. If you think about it, the Grinch is an outcast and has been isolated to himself for practically his entire life. Nobody ever talks to him, and the only social interaction he ever gets is with his dog Max. Having the Grinch to be twisted in this sort of manner would definitely fit the design, make more sense in the world as a whole, and would make his transformation much more impactful. Seeing this almost purely vile monster become such a caring soul after he finds the true meaning of Christmas should be absolutely incredible. In Illumination's Grinch, the change is honestly not that believable. That rendition of the Grinch was a little too social. Would you really picture such a hate-filled beast walking among the Who's without a disguise at the very least? Come on, Illumination. My expectations weren't very high to begin with, but you can do better than that. So, how would a Tim Burton takeover of the Grinch look like? It would be an aesthetically and thematically dark stop-motion film that not only touches on the monstrosity of the Grinch and his hatred for Christmas, but also shows that it impacts others. It could show how, through the true meaning of Christmas, even the most heartless people can grow to love and care about others. That is the story of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That is the story of not only a great movie, but a fantastic holiday tradition. That is the Grinch I want, but the Grinch I unfortunately do not have. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments below and just like and subscribe. And hey, if you want to hear more, I've got an idea about Napoleon Dynamite, Karate Kid, and an interesting conspiracy theory on the classic Little Mermaid. Have a Merry Christmas and stay safe. Until next time.